Hi, my name's Carl Redding. I've been building PCs now for a good part of 8 years as a hobbyist. I'm predominantly a Windows user. My main platform is Windows Server 2003 x64 edition. I use Windows Mobile when I'm out and about as my preferred mobile platform. My wife's a graphic designer, and therefore there is a Mac in our household, which is an iBook Core 2 Duo, and therefore I do believe I have enough experience of OS X through the numerous times I've had the pleasure of using the iBook to be able to speak publicly about the differences between Mac and PC. I'm not going to make this particularly long. There's just a few key points from a YouTube post by a very nice gentleman by the name of garathallnz. There are a few points in his post that I'd just like to counter. First of all, Gareth rightly points out that there's an age-old argument that Macs are too expensive, and he also heads towards the opinion that perhaps isn't true anymore. And what I would say is that whilst I believe that the total point of entry for an Apple Mac has certainly dropped, I believe they are still too expensive to be mainstream. And also I don't believe they offer as much for your money as potentially the equivalent Windows-based solution could offer. My current laptop, which runs the Windows XP, a Dell Inspiron, is coming to 3 years old, and it's due replacement soon. Not because it doesn't run anything; it runs everything fine. Unlike Gareth in his YouTube video post where he suggested he struggled to install the latest software on his 2.5-year-old Packard Bell. My 3-year-old Centrino laptop handles everything I need it to with sufficient gusto and capability. But anyway, that's beyond the point. This particular computer is coming to replacement, and I've been very tempted to purchase a Mac. However, what puts me off purchasing a Mac is actually what I get for my money. So the entry-level iBook is a 2 GHz Core 2 Duo on a 667 front-side bus, running 1 gig of RAM, 13-inch screen. It comes with a combo drive which writes CDs and reads DVDs, and the graphics acceleration comes courtesy of the Intel X3100 graphics acceleration chip. What do I get for my money? Well, for £640, Asus do a PC that comes with a Santa Rosa platform base, so it's a Core 2 Duo chip running on a faster frontside bus running at 800 MHz. I get it the same gig of RAM. I get a bigger screen, 15.1 inch. I get 160 gigabyte hard drive, which is double the capacity of what I get on the equivalent Mac. I get an inbuilt camera, as I do on the Mac. I also get a combination drive which burns both CDs and DVDs, dual layer DVDs as well. And I also get, and this is a key point for me, a NVIDIA based graphics solution, a GeForce 8400M. Now I do like to dabble in the occasional bit of gaming. A particular sort of habit of mine is to go around with friends and play some network games. And my current laptop comes equipped with a GeForce 6800 Go, which is still sufficient to play some of the latest games, including SWAT 4, and it even plays Stalker and such games like that. Not particularly as well as I would have liked from my days when I had an SLI set up in on my PC, but it still passes the grade. Unfortunately, the graphics chip that Mac tends to put in their iBook does not pass that grade, and that for me is a deal breaker. And I just feel like the Mac hardware is still at a premium. There's no doubt about that. So I think that argument's it's halfway there. The cost of entry to the world of Mac is cheap. It is cheaper than it was before, but are Macs still too expensive? Yes, they are. And The other point I wanted to sort of come across again, and I've briefly mentioned it, is Gareth's point around his older Mac still being able to run all the software. Well, as I said, my laptop's 3 years old. That model came out sort of May 2003. May 2005. So we're not far off 3 years old. That hardware configuration was certainly available by other vendors prior to that. It will handle any software I put on it. The latest Adobe CS3 Photoshop will run on a Pentium 4 based system with no clock speed declared in the minimum specification. The Pentium 4 dates back to, I believe, 2001, which would put the PC at nearly 7 years old that is capable of running Adobe. Further to the point that Gareth states that his dual-core G5, so not dual-core, dual-processor G5, well, that's not a run-of-the-mill Mac, and I don't believe that's reflective of the majority of Apple Mac computers that were purchased at the time when he got his. At that time, the G4 would have been prevalent on both the desktop and the laptop side. And I should hope that any chip that comes in at least 1 GHz clock speed in a dual CPU configuration could run today's software. So I don't believe that the statement on his G5 is perhaps as relevant as he would like to believe. And that's no slur against Gareth. That's just my own personal opinion. And the final thing I want to mention is around the difference between Mac and PC. PC and Mac are in essence on the hardware level now the same, since we've moved away from the power architecture that IBM used to deliver to Apple. Now what is a Mac but an x86 based computer? The only difference is that the Mac has an EFI BIOS which flags itself up as an Apple product and enables OS X to install upon it. You can get versions of OS X from unsavoury sources on the internet that will install upon PC standard x86 hardware. And my belief is that the biggest thing that Mac could do, that Apple could do, would be for them to make OS X available to the masses, to be installed on standard off-the-shelf x86 hardware. And I believe they would then pose a real challenge to Windows. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Windows. I love the way Windows works, but to have that choice would be immensely advantageous to all computer users. So that's just my 2 pence worth, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to me ramble. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye bye.